So let's just get straight into the medieval period. Oh boy, the Middle Ages. This is the era of kings and queens, of knights and castles. Maybe it's not so surprising then that there are so many documentaries about medieval France. But why do we care? What's in it for us? Well, for one thing, it's a time of massive cultural change. This is when Latin gave way to the various Romance languages, including the ancestor of French, Old French. It's also a time of monumental building projects, from cathedrals to castles. But these weren't built by magic. They were built by people, real people with real motivations for doing these things. Sometimes they were ordinary citizens paying taxes on their local lord's project, and sometimes they were ambitious nobles vying for power. Medieval France is full of people with agency who are making decisions every day that affect themselves and their neighbors. And if you want to learn more about these people and their world, I recommend checking out my series on medieval France, which is linked below. The 100 Years' War was a conflict between England and France that lasted from 1337 to 1453. Despite its name, it wasn't a continuous war, but instead a series of campaigns fought between the two nations. One of the most famous battles of the war was the Battle of Agincourt in 1415, where a smaller English force led by Henry V defeated a larger French army. The war had significant consequences for both countries, including the rise of national identities and the decline of feudalism in France. If you want to learn more about the 100 Years' War, you can check out a range of resources online and in libraries. The Renaissance was a period of great cultural and intellectual change in Europe that began in the 14th century and lasted until the 17th century. During the Renaissance, there was a renewed interest in classical art, literature, and philosophy, which led to significant advances in painting, sculpture, and writing. Some of the most famous French Renaissance writers include François Rabelais and the Princesse de Clèves. During the Renaissance, France also saw the rise of humanism, a philosophical movement that emphasized the potential of human beings and the importance of individual achievement. This period was a time of great exploration and discovery, with French explorers such as Jacques Cartier exploring Canada and other parts of North America. Overall, the Renaissance was a transformative period in French history, laying the foundation for the country's future development during the Enlightenment and the French Revolution. Speaking of the French Revolution, let's move on to the next period. The French Revolution was a major turning point in French history and European politics that began in 1789 and ended in 1799. The Revolution was a response to the absolute monarchy and the social inequality of the time. The French people revolted against the monarchy and established a republic based on the principles of liberty, equality, and fraternity. The Revolution had a profound impact on France and Europe, inspiring the rise of nationalism and liberalism and paving the way for the rise of Napoleon Bonaparte. If you want to learn more about the French Revolution, there are plenty of resources available. The Napoleonic era refers to the period in European history from 1799 to 1815, when Napoleon Bonaparte was in power. Napoleon rose to power in the aftermath of the French Revolution and went on to conquer much of Europe, establishing the Napoleonic Empire. His military campaigns had a profound impact on the continent, spreading the ideals of the French Revolution and helping to shape the modern map of Europe. Napoleon's rule also saw the codification of French law and the introduction of many social and economic reforms. However, his empire eventually collapsed after a series of defeats, including the Battle of Waterloo in 1815. The Napoleonic era was a pivotal time in European history, marking the end of the Old Order and paving the way for the modern era. The July Revolution of 1830 was a pivotal moment in French history. It was a popular uprising that led to the overthrow of King Charles VI and the establishment of a constitutional monarchy with Louis-Philippe III as king. The revolution was sparked by a number of factors, including the king's increasingly authoritarian rule, the growing middle class, and the influence of liberal ideas from the French Revolution. The July Revolution was a relatively bloodless affair compared to other revolutions of the time, and it demonstrated the growing power of the people in shaping the political landscape of France. It was also an important step towards the establishment of a more democratic system of government in France. The Second French Empire was a period in French history from 1852 to 1870, during which France was ruled by Napoleon III, the nephew of Napoleon Bonaparte. This period saw significant changes in France, including the construction of new public works, such as the Paris, the layout of the city of Paris, and the expansion of the railway network. The Second Empire was also a time of economic growth and prosperity for France. However, it was ultimately short-lived. In 1870, France was defeated in the Franco-Prussian War, which resulted in the downfall of Napoleon III and the end of the Second Empire. The Third Republic was a period in French history that lasted from 1870 to 1940. It was a time of great change and upheaval for France, beginning with the defeat in the Franco-Prussian War and the subsequent loss of Alsace-Lorraine to Germany. Despite these setbacks, the Third Republic was a relatively stable period overall, with France experiencing significant economic and cultural growth. The late 19th and early 20th centuries saw the rise of new artistic movements such as Impressionism and the development of new technologies such as the automobile. However, the period was not without its challenges. France faced a number of crises, including the Dreyfus Affair, a controversial trial of a Jewish army officer that exposed deep-seated anti-Semitism in French society. Despite these challenges, the Third Republic endured until the outbreak of World War II in 1939, when France was quickly defeated by Germany and the government collapsed. The Vichy regime refers to the collaborationist government of France that was established in the southern town of Vichy in 1940 after the armistice with Nazi Germany. Led by Marshal Philippe Pétain, the regime lasted until the liberation of France in 1944. Vichy France implemented a number of anti-Jewish laws, including the confiscation of Jewish property and the deportation of Jews to concentration camps. Many French people collaborated with the Nazi regime, while others resisted the occupation. The Vichy regime was a dark chapter in French history, and the legacy of collaboration continues to be debated and discussed in France today. After World War II, France entered a period of decolonization, giving independence to its colonial possessions in Africa and Asia. This period also saw the rise of Charles de Gaulle and the establishment of the Fifth Republic in 1958, which continues to this day. Modern France has become a global player in culture, fashion, and politics, while also facing challenges such as economic inequality and terrorism. As you can see, there's no shortage of interesting topics in French history, so I hope you've learned something here. If you want to learn more about any of these topics, I put some links in the description. And please remember that history isn't just about memorizing dates and names. It's about understanding the human experience and the forces that have shaped our world. The past isn't dead. It's all around us. It's up to us to discover it, understand it, and learn from it. So keep asking questions, keep exploring, and keep learning. And until next time, happy history.